Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome to Military Wife Revival Sunday. I'm Teresa Alexis, known as the Military Bride Strategist, and I'm the host of these Sunday revivals for military wives. Today, we don't have like a set agenda that we're going to talk about. I kind of just wanted to come on and say welcome back after the Super Bowl. I knew that both people in my family and a lot of friends would be watching the Super Bowl, so we didn't have it last Sunday like I planned. But I hope y'all enjoyed that. I didn't really get a chance to watch it. And honestly, I just kind of go to the Super Bowl always for the halftime show. Literally the only part I go and am interested in. And sorry if y'all are seeing that like funky blur kind of behind me. I don't know how to really take that off in this moment because I'm streaming from Zoom. So just bear with me and hopefully that won't distract you. But I just want to kind of come on and talk really to wives about just the season that I find a lot of us in. And it's not always, everybody's not always in the same season at the same time. So um, a lot of people can feel like that is not great, or some people can feel like it's great because they're very optimistic. I'm very indifferent to that because we all go through seasons and we'll be in different seasons at different times. That's just life, I think. And also, too, sometimes when you're going through a season, someone has either already been through it. Yeah, I can't see my hands because of that blur for real, but someone has either been through it already, or someone else is going to be behind you that's going to go through it and may need your word of encouragement, or something along those lines. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like nobody else has gone through this or nobody else is going to go through this, especially when it comes through difficult seasons in marriage. Literally, every marriage goes through a difficult season. Now, it'll look different for everybody. And let me just say something about difficult seasons in marriage. I'm taking a deep breath because there's this, I guess, stigma or whatever, that if you're going through a really, 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 really tough time in marriage, that you shouldn't be together. And that's not the case. Sometimes it's stuff that you, like me, you, or your spouse is going through that they haven't dealt with, like maybe childhood trauma. Childhood trauma is a huge one that, when left unresolved, will definitely impact your future relationships. That's your parenting, that's your intimate relationships, because we're married here. And even if you're watching this and you're not married, and you're dating, like same deal. Any trauma that you do not deal with comes back up. You may be able to suppress it in that moment or during that season, even for a few years. Eventually, though, it's going to come back up, and it'll come back up in different ways. It won't come back up as the issue itself all the time. It may come up in the fact that you're always angry, or you're always like very moody, irritated, or you're always like sad, maybe anxious, whatever. It can come up in many different ways. And the main thing to combat that is to deal with it. And you can do that with a coach like myself. You can do that with a pastoral counselor, a Christian counselor, or, you can hire a therapist. And sometimes I've seen the issue be so great that people have to be hospitalized. None of those things I mentioned are bad. You just need to know what type of help or what level of care you need, and then actually seek that out. And also, if you need somebody to walk with you and hold your hand through that, I know everybody's like, it should be your spouse. And I agree with that. I believe it should be your spouse. But sometimes it won't be your spouse. It'll be a stranger per se, like maybe a coach, or it'll be like a friend or a family member, as long as you have that accountability piece. I think first pick should be spouse, but maybe they can't handle that. And that's okay. A lot of people want to make you think that your spouse isn't for you because they can't mentally handle something. There are things that you can't mentally handle. It doesn't mean that you're not for your spouse and they're not for you. You just need to know where you stand on certain things. Like certain things in my husband's field of work, I would never be able to mentally handle that, or I would have been in the field myself. I can't be knowing about kids that have died or anything. Like, I am too mentally sensitive to that stuff to even be like, that's why I'm not a chaplain. Okay. So not a chaplain for that. But I would not be able to handle that. So he would have to find somebody who can walk with him, and which would probably be my pastor, because my pastor does chaplain for a police department. I know my limits. I know the stuff that I'm sensitive to. I can't do that. Even being a legal clerk, paralegal in the military for like a year or so, 2 years, it was a lot. It was a lot. And honestly, if it wasn't for therapy, I don't know, I probably would be out of here. But anyway, bringing it back in. But when you're married and you're going through challenging seasons, whatever you want to call them, challenging seasons, hardships, obstacles, we all go through them. Maybe you're at a difficult duty station. Maybe you transitioned from the military and ended up in a place you didn't necessarily want to live, but it's great for your spouse and you're trying to love it. Whatever that looks like, seasons will be different, and they can be categorized all as obstacles or hardships. It doesn't mean that, oh man, their marriage is so much greater than mine because they don't even argue. The thing about comparing your marriage to someone else's is you have no idea what it looks like on the inside of their home. You don't. I don't compare, and I've never compared my marriage to anybody else's because, one, I have no idea what's going on over there. They could be faking the funk. And like pretending to be this perfect couple and pretending that they love each other when they throwing blows at home. So comparing really doesn't do anything but ruin your own relationship. Now, I will say, in my life, just like every other flawed human, I have made a lot of mistakes, even in my marriage. But that's one thing I have not done. I have not compared my marriage nor my spouse to someone else, or else I would be married to someone else. So I wouldn't do that. That just doesn't make sense for me. And I've worked real hard on myself to know who I am and to know what I want out of life and what I want out of my marriage, so that I don't compare or even get caught up in that trap, because it's a trap and a lot of people fall into it. And sometimes people look up and be like, how did I even end up over here? How? I said I was not going to compare my marriage or my spouse, but yet here I am. It be the trap, y'all. It be the trap. And not the hood trap, different type of trap. But hardships in marriage, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean it's a bad marriage. It's just not a great season. It's just not a great season. And honestly, it don't matter what type of hardship you're going through. You have to have things in place to be able to come out of that stronger than how you went in. And that can happen for any couple. It really can. I have talked to so many people over my military career and over just my time now as a transition veteran, of couples going through hardships. And I let them know it's okay. It's totally okay. You're not alone and you're not crazy, because sometimes we feel crazy. We feel like it's just us. We'll feel like, oh, this season is I can't see past this moment. Let me just say, I've been there. Can't see past the moment, can't see past the hurt, the pain, the whatever. Can't see past any of that. I totally been there. But one thing I have, and I don't know for all of you listening, I have the hope of Christ, and I have really, really, really great friends who will not let me go into that downward spiral. I just know my friends love me, and I don't like all the stuff they say to me all the time. And I'll be like, you know what? I told one of my friends the other day, she's probably like 13 years older than me, but we've been friends for a long time. Long, long time. And she just called me out on something the other day pertaining to me growing as a woman. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes I just don't like you. And she laughed and she was like, why? I was like, I wanted to have my little vent moment and enjoy my little vent moment. And I was like, and you ruined it. So we laughed about that, but she was like, you know what? It's okay to vent. And it is. And she was like, but I love you too much to let you go downhill and go into the very depths of what you're trying to get out of. And she's right. She's right. And I love her for that. I love her for caring about me so much that she's not about to let me go downhill. So yeah, she's not gonna sit on the sidelines and just watch me crash and burn. And I love her and am greatly thankful for her for that. So you have to find friends that are like that. People who are just telling you you're right when you know good and well you're not right. And not saying anything to ever correct you, just kind of like, don't say nothing, be like, oh, I'm your friend. Those people aren't your real friends. Your real friends are going to tell you the hard things. They're going to tell you, I can understand how you may feel that way, but this is wrong because of X, Y, and Z. Now, that's not to say they're making you do anything, but the influence of friendship and the influence of righteousness prevails over whatever this stuff other people be doing. I'm not a fake it till you make it or a kind of go along to get along type person. So I don't attract those type of friends. Clearly, because I just told y'all what my friend did to me. And, it helped me. So whatever type of person you are, whatever you're portraying, those are the type of people you're going to attract. So if you want friends that are going to keep you accountable, friends that are honest with you, friends that are truthful, friends that are bold and direct, then you have to be like that. I mean, that's not saying change your whole personality, but if you're go along to get along, you're going to attract those type of people usually. Now there will be rare moments where you'll attract somebody like that's completely the opposite of that, and they'll be good for you because they'll help you balance out. You're like, you know what? I need that in my life. But accountability is a big piece of this, a big piece of going through life, going through hardships. And I didn't even start out this conversation to talk about this, but going through hardships and going through hardships and dealing with it appropriately. I think the biggest thing is not losing your sanity, because life, people, and things can make you lose your mind sometimes, especially when you find yourself in this space of uncertainty. And with military people, a lot is uncertain, but it'll help you go through that a whole lot smoother, I would say, than if you just kind of floating through life, because you don't know anything. There's no plan. There's no friends, there's no accountability, there's no prayer, there's no nothing. And you just kind of like, oh, well, if I make it over here, then guess I'll make it. If I don't, guess I won't make it over there. It doesn't matter. But when you're intentional about these things, that's when you get to the accountability piece. And I'll just say, I know the stereotype that comes with making friends, and maybe I just need to do a class on that, because I hear it a lot, how hard of a time people have with making friends from duty station to duty station. And honestly, you got to put yourself out there, get out and meet people. They won't always be military affiliated, so you have to open yourself up for that. There's some friends in my life, they have no military background. So most of the stuff I say, they be like, huh? But they're good for me because I won't say clouded, because I don't believe that, but they have a different perspective. That's the way of saying it. They have a different perspective, that's outside of that military bubble, whether that military bubble for you is being in uniform or being the spouse in the support role, whatever it is, having friends of different, like, I guess, categories or groups or circles, I would say, is good. So maybe you'll have church friends that maybe don't have or have military experience or affiliation. Then you'll have people from work or people from the neighborhood if you live on base, or you'll just have neighbors if you live off base. And then, your friends from whatever work you have, if you go to work, or if you go to a mom group or a wife group, you have the friends from that. And then, and sometimes they just be associates, but for the point of this live, I'm gonna say friends. And then you have friends you may exercise with. For me, like being on active duty, there was a lot of support groups that I led. I didn't really lead any when I came back to the States in Quantico. But I did have a lot of game nights at my house. I did, and a lot of my Marines and a lot of people that I knew from up in Fort Belvoir at that time came and they hung out with us. A lot of people from church hung out with us. So it was couples from my job. And let me just tell you, the difference of people from my job and my husband's job, very different. Very, very different. I'm trying to think of where he worked at this time. I think he may have worked, and it's probably because he worked over there on the officer side at the time. I don't remember, but even in the military where people think we all the same, I don't know why they think that, but night and day, the type of people. But it was great because, we were very diverse in our house and our kids loved that. They still talk about that now. Not my girls so much because they were like babies, but, my son remembers the game nights and he still asks me when we're going to do that again. I don't know, but connecting with people is the biggest thing. Connecting with yourself too is also important. I've talked about that in previous videos, and I want to give y'all the scripture of the day that I saw. Everything want to come up on my phone right now. Psalms 46:10. Be still and know, recognize and understand that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. So one thing I have done in my seasons of difficulty, hardship, obstacles, challenges, in all of them, is I am constantly standing still or getting in a quiet place, I guess, to make sure that I'm listening to God, that I'm praying and I'm hearing him, and that, I'm writing. I journal a lot, and my journal entries don't look like just words. They have pictures, all kind of things like brain mapping, all types of stuff be in my journal. My journal is just a sketchbook for that reason. I can't do line paper because it would never work. But so if you want a journal, that can work for you. But the main thing for me was to be still. That means I need to be waiting, and I need to be patiently waiting to hear my next instructions. Be quiet because, I like to talk, and I like to talk a lot. So, and so much so that my cousins, and she may be on this live commenting, they nicknamed me Talkie Talk, and I'm 34, about to be 34, yeah. They still call me this. I wonder if they even know my real name for real outside of seeing it on Facebook. But I be wondering if they know like what my real name is, because they still call me Talkie Talk. But I like to talk. So of course, God is gonna tell me, hey, you need to hush, girl. Be quiet. I don't know how you talk to y'all, but that's how you talk to me. You need to hush. You need to be quiet. And I'm like, okay. Because I can't hear nothing. I can't hear instructions if I'm talking. I tell my kids this all the time. You cannot hear what I'm telling you if you talking. If we talking at the same time, how you gonna hear what I'm saying? You ain't. And then I have to let it go. Give it to God. Watch him work. Only how he can work. I have to be obedient by being quiet and being still. Waiting doesn't mean not acting. Waiting means you're watching, you're looking, you're praying, you're seeking. All of that is in the waiting. And you're priming, maybe that's the right word, priming while you're waiting. And you're quiet because you're listening. You're listening. You need to hear when you're observing. So being still, being watchful, and being quiet, they like go hand in hand. Like I can't be concentrating and focused trying to watch and I'm looking out my window, but watch and then I'm talking. I'm going to start to get distracted and forget what I'm supposed to do. So those two go hand in hand. And then from there, you can get your instructions and know what you're supposed to do. But I like talking about hardships because mainly it's this stigma that no marriage should have. There's two stigmas. One is stigma, stereotypes, whatever you want to call them. One is that every marriage goes through hardships or challenges of some sort. That's the one I believe. Then there's another one that, oh, if it's hard or if it's difficult or if you're having challenges, then you shouldn't be married or you shouldn't be with this person. Incorrect, because number one, everybody thinks when you get married and you become one, they think, oh, you're married, one person for the rest of forever. That's not quite how that works. You are becoming one. Yes, it starts at the marriage ceremony or wedding ceremony. It starts there, but it's a continuation throughout your marriage. It's not a one-time dip. That's why you still need to date. That's why you still need to communicate. Because if you didn't have to do none of that stuff, everybody would have a perfect marriage and they'd be in, and everybody would be getting married, right? Everybody would be in this relationship. They get married, have kids or not have kids, have animals, have farms, the end, everybody lives happily ever after, go to heaven, the end, whatever. But because that's so unrealistic and so untrue, it's not the case. So any relationship is work. It's not just marriage, but a lot of times we focus only on marriage being work. It's work and parenting. That's a relationship. That's a type of relationship. So you have to work to build trust there. I mean, come on. You have to work to build trust there. So it's the same in your marriage. You have to work to build trust, and you're building, you're becoming. It's not, hey, we did this, the end. Let's just, I don't know, sit back and see where this marriage takes us. It's going to require work, because sometimes throughout your life, throughout your marriage, you're not going to know that something gets on your nerves or something bothers your spouse until they do it. You're like, I didn't even know that make me sick, but it do. Oh, I didn't even know, I don't even like that. But I don't. That don't mean you don't need to be together. You're never going to know every single thing about every single person. Or I should say that different. You're never going to know every single thing about your spouse within the year or 2 years that y'all may be dating or courting or engaged or whatever. Because number one, they probably stayed with their parents until they were 18 and then went off to the military or did whatever. So don't ever think you can learn 18 years worth of stuff in 2 years or in 5 years. That's so unrealistic, because they're not going to remember everything about you. Because one, this is the thing about our brains and our memories. Sometimes we forget stuff, and until it's triggered, it's like, oh, I remember this time when I was like 5 years old, because everybody's brain works differently. That's why these things are incredible. I remember this thing happened to me when I was 5 years old. And then your spouse is like, oh, I never knew that. It's like, I didn't even think about it till right now. So you should always be learning about your spouse. And yes, there's going to be things that you probably hate, but that doesn't mean you hate your spouse. You may just get highly annoyed with something that they do. But I see that as an opportunity to talk about it. And yes, sometimes you're going to need a mediator, like a life coach or like a therapist, or someone like that. Sometimes you're going to need that. That doesn't mean that the relationship is over or that the relationship should end or that, you made a mistake. That doesn't mean any of that. That's what I see a lot of people do. They just, I won't even call it throwing in the towel. They just throw the whole entire marriage away because they don't like one thing or two things that their spouse does. And it's like, but did you give them a chance? Have you talked about it, kind of thing? And again, I'm glad we're doing this revival, because I want to see wives kind of do the inner work and work on themselves and build themselves and reinvent themselves, because I feel like a lot of times it is the wife. Sometimes it's rare that it's the husband, but this is for the wives. The wives kind of lose sight of who they are, what they're called to do, and all the good that they bring here to the earth. And it's apart from those titles as wife, mom, it's woman, okay? It's woman. You have a great calling as a woman. Wife, mom, friend, sister, all those other titles, CEO, those are bonuses and they're great, but who am I called to be as a woman? And that's what I need y'all to find out. Now, I know we talked a lot about hardships today, and that's fine. So we can, end this with saying, one, just to recap, you're not alone in the hardships you go through. You're not the only one that's going to ever go through this. It's okay. Excuse me. It's okay to go through those hardships. And it is totally normal to feel all the feelings that you feel. And speaking of feeling all the feelings that you feel, this topic is something that I will be going in depth with at Military Marriage Fest. Now, I talk about this a lot. I talk about this event a lot because it's just a phenomenal event. Not just because it's my event, but because there's going to be phenomenal speakers there who are going to talk about different aspects of marriage. Going through hardships and challenges is going to be one of them. So I want y'all to get signed up. You can go to militarymarriagefest.com. And honestly, you can go through the VIP route, or you can go the general route. And it's going to be virtual. So no matter where you are in the world, overseas, stateside, different time zones, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to tune in. And the reason, or not the reason, but the perks of all of this is you'll get replay access. So even if you can't make it to the first half because of the time difference, then you can watch it later and see all the speakers and all the activities, and it'll be uploaded into this nice little portal for you. So that'll be fun. But Military Marriage Fest is happening June 2nd and 3rd. And I'm excited about the speakers that's going to be coming. And if you haven't, if you're on here watching and you're not military, but you're connected to a military couple, then be sure to share this live with them, and be sure to invite the wife to Military Wives Collective, because that is the gathering place for people like us who love to be in community and who love to grow and learn different stuff to apply to your marriage. Communication, going through hardships, and a whole lot of other things are at the top of the list of what I always see. So in there, we will be having discussions. Now we do a lot of funny stuff because I feel like there's a lot of stress that happens in military life. So sometimes we need to laugh. So we do that, but we do fun stuff too. Like I know the new thing we're going to be starting is meetups. Now that I guess I won't ever say COVID is going away, but now that it's kind of relaxing or whatever, but we're going to start doing meetups. And who knows, there's going to be a lot of things in store for Military Wives Collective, but be sure to sign up to get your ticket at militarymarriagefest.com. And then if you're interested in the collective that I talked about, it's called Military Wives Collective, and you can go to www.militarywivescollective.com and join. And then, but be sure to invite a friend or share this live video on your page or with friends or in a group that has wives, military wives, who are interested in not just this chat, but joining Military Marriage Fest. And if you're my friend on here or you're seeing this publicly, you can see my banner that's up there that gives you all the information about the Marriage Fest and how you can go over there and join. So all that to say, be sure to sign up for Military Marriage Fest. Be sure to make sure you're not being too hard on yourself. We're going through a difficult season in your marriage, and definitely stay connected by going to militarywivescollective.com. Also, if you're already on Facebook, you can just type it in, search, and then you can join there. But make sure you answer the questions so you can be let in. So y'all have a good Sunday. It was nice chatting with y'all, and I hope to see you in the group at the Military Marriage Fest and here next week.